Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of Weight Loss 360 with Boots Online Doctor. This is a place where our experts get myth busting and answer the questions that everybody wants to know. Hello everyone, I am Helen Thorn. I'm a comedian and author, and today we are joined again by the wonderful Ruth Taylor, who is a nutritionist and nurse on the Boots Online Doctor team, who will be answering the question, is my metabolism slow? I can't wait to get into this one, Ruth, with you. Let's start with the basics. What is a metabolism? What is the metabolic rate?
The metabolic rate is really about the rate that your body converts the food and drink that you eat into energy through chemical processes. It's happening all of the time. Our metabolism never stops. Even when we're at rest or when we're asleep, it's working away for us. And we usually refer to the basal metabolic rate. This gives us just an idea of the amount of energy our body is using at rest to function.
Could you see it as sort of like, with fuel efficiency for a car? So some people get fuel and it will get them further. That's what I'm trying to sort of
I love that analogy. That's absolutely it. I often think we are just basically engines.
Yes.
So it's about when we think about food or we think about how our body's ticking, are we a sports car or are we perhaps more of a sedan or a saloon or something?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's a really nice analogy, definitely.
So Ruth, my big question is, how do we actually know whether our metabolism is fast or slow? Are we a sports car or are we a milk float?
Yeah, I think I'm probably the milk float.
Same.
But that's a really interesting question. It's something we're often asked, especially by people who find that they experience unexpected weight gain or even those who struggle to lose weight. So symptoms of somebody having a slow metabolism can be things like they have unexpected weight gain or difficulty losing weight. But you also might notice that you feel cold quite a lot of the time, suffer with feelings of fatigue or have a low pulse rate. But conversely, people who perhaps have a faster metabolism might find that they're really hungry a lot of the time and may, on the other flip side of the coin, have difficulty maintaining their weight. But it's not an exact science and it can be really difficult to figure out which one you sit within. And I think people do find this really confusing and a sort of slightly overwhelming area to get into. So hopefully we'll cut through some of that confusion.
And is your metabolism set for life? Because I think people think, I've always got a slow metabolism. I'm always just going to look at food and put on weight. Can we actually change it or impact it in any way?
It isn't set for life, and is a short answer. We can change our metabolism. It's not an easy thing to do, but actually it's really affected massively by our muscle mass and our fat mass. So those are the key things when we're looking at getting healthy that we can put some attention into. It's also affected by our age. Obviously, we can't do anything about that, and also our biological sex. So those things will have a sort of background impact without us being able to affect them. But also body composition plays a huge role. So like I was saying, if you've got a high fat mass or a high muscle mass, then that can have a huge impact. And obviously those are things that we can really look to change. It can be difficult to know what's going on in terms of your muscle mass and fat mass. So you may need to be working with or having an assessment by someone like a nutritionist or a personal trainer to really know what's going on in terms of your body composition.
There are fat and muscle mass scales as well.
Yeah.
And I know when I've been training, I bought a scale for that, not for weight loss, but just to know what my body composition was. You can get some for less than £20 online. And actually having a sense of how much fat and how much muscle mass is actually, because I love stats. I love a bit of stats. So it's quite an interesting thing to do. Yeah,
those scales can be really helpful, at least in terms of they may not be 100% accurate.
Yes, I was thinking probably not.
But it gives you the overview and the trend. So that can be something else to be thinking about. So I guess also your metabolism keeps up with your energy requirements of your body. So how active you are, how much you move, whether you're sleeping well, all of those things will have an effect on your metabolism. But also things like low thyroid function can really, for some people, have quite a significant impact. But, it isn't something that you can't overcome. You just need to be mindful and aware.
So Ruth, I wanted to talk about when you're on a weight loss journey, what can you do to support your metabolism?
Yeah, it's a really important point and something that we often forget when we go on those sort of like restrictive eating patterns. So when we're losing weight, it's important to be thinking about what you can do to maintain your muscle mass while losing fat stores, because that is one of the key to the healthy long-term weight loss, that sort of like whole approach. So what we want to avoid when we're losing weight is losing muscle mass. At the end of that whole sort of weight loss journey, if you've lost muscle mass, you might end up being able to eat fewer calories because your body isn't burning fuel so effectively. You've turned into the milk float as opposed to the sports car. So we really want to be thinking about that. We know that muscle burns more calories per day than fat, so you want to be keeping that muscle mass working for you. And if you've lost weight in the past, someone like me, if you've got a history of having lost weight and regained it, then you can end up with a real shift in your body fat percentage in a not so great way. So you need to be thinking about that because your metabolism will slow down. So regaining muscle is going to be really important for anyone who's in that situation or anyone who's on a health kick.
I think that's it. And I think sometimes, and I can't speak as a man, I can only speak as a woman, that people go, oh, I don't want to be bulked up or I don't want big legs or big arms. But it really doesn't have to be a complete overhaul of your body. This is just adding a bit of strength training, and you don't even need weights. There's lots of ways in which, yoga and Pilates, and there's lots of free courses online, just so people realise it's accessible. You don't have to go off and have a personal trainer 3 times a week. You can build muscle in really accessible ways.
I think that's absolutely important to really know, and that strength training, the sort of phrase that you said is the key, really. It's about building in strength. It's not about building muscle. It's about maintaining the muscle that you have and keeping it strong and working for you. That's the absolute key, and it can be really simple.
So let's get a bit scientific, Ruth, okay? Should we get into some hard facts? Is there a way we can figure out how much you can eat based on your metabolism?
There is. So, but it's not something everybody wants to do, and some people will really want to know and others perhaps less so. And I guess the key for us is that we want people to learn to eat in a way which is consistent with health in the long term. So calories are important, but they're not the whole story. But if you do want to understand your basal metabolic rate, it can be helpful to really be thinking about this in terms of there are some calculators that we can find online that we can utilise. We will put a link in the show notes for people who are interested in calculating their basal metabolic rate. But one of the things that you have to do is you have to add in your activity level to get the sort of calorific requirements for your body. So if you're somebody who is sedentary a lot of the time, your recommended calorie intake would be less than somebody who's incredibly active, who's the same body weight. So it's all about you and personalising it down. The one thing that these calculators aren't very good at doing is looking at your body composition. I guess also just thinking that food is more than calories. So no 2 foods are going to have the same effect in your body. So it could be that you'll have 2 foods that have the same calorific content, but actually when you eat them, the impact on how your body uses those calories is going to be very different.
So what I'm picking up here, Ruth, is not all foods are made equal. They're going to have different impacts. So, of course, 300 calories looks very different with chicken and vegetables as opposed to a chocolate bar.
Very much so. So I guess, exactly that, Helen. So calories from carbohydrates, proteins and fats are all processed very differently by our bodies. For example, protein requires more energy for us to digest compared to fats and carbohydrates. So we'll actually use more calories in the digestion of some foods. So if we consume the same amount of calories from protein, we'll use more calories to process that food. So the sort of balance is less, if that makes sense. And then thinking about how this translates to how we eat overall, we really recommend that people think about following that low sugar, low carbohydrate approach to eating, which we would term a low glycemic approach. But really, we don't need to worry about those really funky terms. Just thinking about bringing down the processed carbohydrates and the high sugar content can really be helpful, because we know that will have less impact on our blood sugar. And eating those low sugar, low carbohydrate foods can really help you to have that stable blood sugar, and also you'll end up producing less insulin and you'll feel fuller for longer and have less cravings. So your food will work for you in a more effective way. You're going to feel fuller for longer, you're going to have less cravings, and you're going to be less hungry for the next meal, or looking for that snack is going to become less of a problem. So we really think eating that low sugar, low carb way is really helpful for weight management. And actually what the research tells us, if we eat that way consistently overall, how many calories we eat in a day will start to come down once we get that balance going on for us. On the flip side of the coin, if we're eating the highly processed, high sugar, the high calorie foods, that can really contribute to weight gain. And also we know that can lead to overeating, a greater sense of hunger, and a real increase in the calories that we consume over the week. So we really want to be thinking about, okay, if you want those high carbohydrate foods, what can you add into that mix to balance things out a little bit more? Can you put some protein in there? Could you put some natural yogurt in there, or some nuts or something? It could make all the difference.
So we've nearly come to the end of the episode. Have you got any final thoughts to leave with the listener, Ruth?
Yeah, I think we've covered some really interesting things. Obviously, this is a really complex topic and we've really just touched the surface, I'm sure. But one of the things I was thinking about is that adding spices to foods is thought to also help to boost metabolism. So things like ginger or turmeric or even cayenne pepper, there's some really interesting research emerging that they can be helpful at helping to promote a healthier metabolic rate. And if you'd like to hear more, we've got a full podcast episode which will delve deeper into the subject on how to eat.
Excellent. Thank you for listening. Now, Weight Loss 360 is a Fresh Air production with Boots Online Doctor. The producer is Ollie Seymour. Next week, we'll be exploring eating patterns and habits and lifting the lid on extreme calorie restriction and fasting. Thanks for listening, everyone. We're here to support you with a whole host of expert weight loss advice, so remember to follow Weight Loss 360 wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure you check out Boots Online Doctor Weight Loss Service for a whole load of other amazing advice and free resources, including a weekly live webinar. You'll be able to hear Ruth on that. Excellent. Where our experts can answer all your questions. The information shared here is evidence-based to help you achieve and maintain weight loss. However, if you have any health concerns or questions, please consult your GP before making any changes to your diet or lifestyle. Remember, every small change is a big step towards a healthier, happier you.